Hi, my name is Mary Bachlow, and today I'm going to show you how to make cabbage rolls. I learned how to make cabbage rolls from my mother, who came from the Ukraine, and she always made a big batch and in this kind of a pot, and that's what I'm going to do today. And I make my cabbage rolls very similar to hers. I have tweaked them a little bit over the years. First of all, you start off with a nice fresh winter cabbage. I find you need to have really great fresh ingredients to make really great stuff. So, nice winter cabbage, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. I usually do one or two, depends on how many I'm making. Then I get some fresh ground beef. And it's a third of ground beef, a third of pork ground, and a third of rice. Okay, so I try to keep that proportion. And also, I will be cooking rice. And over the years, I've tried many kinds of rices, but I like the Uncle Ben's converted rice the best because it keeps its shape in the cabbage rolls, and it's got the starch removed so it doesn't go mushy in there. It's just a nice rice I like for cabbage rolls. I do like basmati rice, but I use it for other things. But for cabbage rolls, I like Uncle Ben's long grain converted rice. Okay. I would say maybe 2 cups. Okay, and then I just mix it up, let it boil. And once it boils, I'm going to turn it down to low and cover it. I'm boiling some water in here for the cabbage to cook. Okay, I'm going to put a lid on it so it can boil faster. Meanwhile, I'm going to prepare my cabbage to go in there so the leaves come off nicely. What you do is you cut the core off and you just go around like this. Try and get the core out, this core. You need to remove it totally. You just have to keep going around. This is probably the hardest part, is getting the cabbage ready. Because if you don't remove this core, it'll be very difficult to remove the leaves. It sort of keeps the leaves together. Anyway, so we need to remove the core. Some people actually freeze the cabbage, but I haven't tried that. We've always boiled the cabbage. I've removed the core from the cabbage, and I'm just going to remove any old leaves. So all of these are what I consider prime leaves for cabbage rolls. So core removed. Now I'm going to put the cabbage into the pot like that, over here. I'm just going to let it boil. It'll float to the top. Just make sure you have enough water so it won't boil over. And I'm just going to cover it, okay, and let it boil. Okay, you need to have a big plate so you can put your cabbage leaves. I'm just going to get this plate here, put it beside my pot so as I take the leaves off, it'll be right here. And you want the cabbage to cool down. That's why you need sort of a bigger plate. So I'd rather have extra cabbage than be short. So I'm just going to prepare the other cabbage the same way. Okay, I've cut up the second cabbage just the same way as I did the first one. I'm just going to leave it on the side here so when that one is done I can just plop this one into the water. In the meantime, I am going to, my rice is cooking. I'm just going to give it a bit of a stir. Make sure it doesn't burn. Just give it a stir. So have a compost bin ready for all your composting. Okay. Now I'm going to cut up some onions. Okay, and in my cabbage rolls I like to have caramelized onions. So again, nice fresh onions. And I'm going to peel them. Peel my onions. I'm going to use maybe 3 of them. 3 onions. Okay, and I'm going to cut them up and chop them up, and I'm going to cook them in butter. And I like to slice my onions in half, and then I go like this, and I just go like that. Slice them this way. nice sharp knife. It's a lot of preparation for making cabbage rolls. You have to have time and put your heart into it. Anyways, then I turn them around and I cut the other way. And that way it's diced nice and thin. Not too thin, but enough, like that. And I'm just going to put all my chopped onions in here. I've got 2 more to go. Okay, my rice is boiled. I've turned it down to low, and I'm going to put a lid on it. I'm going to let it cook slowly until it's done. Okay, it has to be totally done, maybe 10-15 minutes, and I'll be stirring it once in a while. And in the meantime, my cabbage here is boiling. And what I'm going to do is I'm taking the leaves off as it cooks. It sort of comes off by itself. I'm just going to remove the leaves and put them over here. And the reason we cook the cabbage is because it's more manageable, it's more pliable. And it sort of, as it cooks, the leaves come off easily here, off the cabbage. So the ones in here are still cooking, and I'm just taking the ones that are floating apart. And they're nice and pliable, okay? And I'm putting them over there. Now this one still needs some cooking, so I'm just going to let it sit there and cook. I like the cabbage to be cooked. And I'm leaving it on high. In the meantime, I'm going to finish with chopping my onions over here. I'm going to wait till my frying pan is nice and hot, because that's how they get to be non-stick. The frying pan needs to be really, really hot. Then I'll add my butter and my onions. So I'm just waiting for the frying pan to get hot. While I'm waiting for the frying pan to get hot, I can remove some of the other leaves that are cooked now. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to get some butter, only butter. And I use salted butter or I use unsalted butter, it depends. Anyways, you're going to have quite a bit of butter. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to put it over here. And I'm going to get my wooden spoon out. I'm going to get my wooden spoon, and I'm going to put the onions in there. And I'm going to cook them until they're nice and golden. Okay? So I'm caramelizing the onions, basically. While I'm having all this cook, the cabbage, the onions, the rice, I'm getting my pan that I'm going to mix everything in, make sure it's nice and clean. And I like a nice big pan so I could mix things up without spilling them. So I'm going to be using this pan. It's one of my favorites. And then as we roll the cabbage rolls, we're going to put them in this container so we have lots of room with the tomato sauce and everything else, so they won't be boiling over. So I have this already ready. My onions are cooking nicely. I've got them on medium-high. You don't want them on high, just medium-high, and keep stirring them. Okay, and my rice is on the slow cook, and it's just boiling slowly with a lid on it. Okay, the onions are starting to get a little bit golden or caramelized. The butter you can see the butter now. Just the trick is to keep stirring. And they will gently turn golden brown on you. And meanwhile, I've got the rice. It's almost cooked up. I just leave it on low or medium or low or a simmer. I could even turn it off now because it's just gonna cook. It's just gonna get more poopier. I think it's pretty much done. And I just put the other cabbage in there, and I've done the first cabbage, and I've just taken this off. It's done. So I'm just letting it cool off so I can work with it. Okay, my onions are pretty much caramelized. I don't want them to be any more golden brown than this, so I'm going to turn them off. And my rice is all poopy now, so it's ready to go. My cabbage is ready. I'm just cooking the other one. Okay, now I'm getting my mixing bowl ready. I'm going to put my onions in there. Okay. I'll just get a few of my other onions. Okay, now I'm going to add my cooked rice. It has to be totally cooked, and as you can see, all the kernels are not sticking together. That's why I like the converted rice. the starch has been taken off it. And I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to try and keep my rice, my pork, and my beef too. Okay, now I put my rice in there on top of my onions, and now I'm going to put my meats in there, the pork and the beef. Okay, I like to get nice fresh beef, ground beef, so I'll just put that beside it. Okay, let's see. Okay, that might do it for that. And now this is the beef, and now I'm going to get the pork. Okay, I'm going to put the pork in here. There we go. Okay, there we go. The pork was 0.3, so I might need another pork. I've got some pork in the freezer. I might add to that. I think I will. Taking the leaves off again as they cook with the second cabbage. And they won't come off if they're not cooked, so just peel them off as they cook. They seem to let go as they cook, so I'll let the rest of them cook for a little bit longer. Okay, so now you can see I've got a third rice, third ground beef, third ground pork, and the onions are at the bottom. Now I'm going to mix everything together. Okay, I'm just mixing everything together now. Okay, now I've mixed up all my hamburgers and my rice. Now I'm going to season it with sea salt and also with fresh ground pepper. And I like to have generous pepper in here, quite a bit of it, and salt to taste. And also I like to have my magic ingredient, which is Mrs. Dash. And I like to add that to it. There, that's it. That's my magic ingredient. And then I would mix all this together, and you just add more salt and pepper to taste. You have to mix it really good. Okay, now I'm going to prepare my pan. Okay, just a nice pan like this. My mom used to make in one of these. And I'm going to use some of my outside leaves for the bottom. They're probably a little bit greener. Anyways, you don't have to take the green center out. Just layer your pan with these leaves. Okay? So I'm just layering the leaves on the bottom so they don't burn. I just cover the whole bottom. I'll just do one more. I'm going to try and use the leaves that are maybe the outside leaves that maybe aren't as premium for cabbage rolls as the other ones are, as the center leaves are. There, I think I'm ready. Okay, now I'm going to actually roll my cabbage rolls. So I've got my cabbage all ready. And what I like to do is I like to cut out the center core. And then I like to cut my cabbage rolls. I don't like them too big, so I will cut this cabbage leaf in about 3 pieces, like that. And then I'm going to take a spoonful of my filling. You don't need to take too much, maybe a tablespoonful like that. And then you're going to roll them, like so. Okay, and there you go. And you place it in here. Okay, I'm doing another one here, and I'm placing it right beside the other one. And my third one here, you don't have to make them too big. They will stick together. There you go, like that, and just keep going. I'm just going to put another one there. Just keep them nice and tight. This leaf I'm just going to use like that. You have to judge each leaf as you come to it, whether you're going to divide it into 3 or 2. Dividing this one in 2. And then I'm just doing my roll, nice and tight. There you go. And I'm putting it over here. Okay, right beside the next ones. There. I'll do another one here. I would do like a tablespoon. Yeah, and try and roll them nice and tight. Okay, I'm just going to get another one, a tablespoonful, and just do your best to roll them. Okay, there you go. Okay, ready? Right against the wall here. Just so they're nice and snug. Okay, first layer is done, and I'm just continuing to use prime cabbage leaves that are white, nice and white, and I'm just removing the stem. And I'm just going to do another layer right on top of that. Okay, I'm just putting another row here. I think there'll be 2 rows to this batch. Just adjusting the filling to the leaf so it all fits in there. And then I just put it there. Nice and tight against the last one. Snug against each other so they don't fall apart. Once they cook, they sort of solidify to each other. The meat cooks with the rice and it all seems to come together. So we're almost finished with rolling the cabbage rolls. So I'm going to get the oven ready at 350 degrees. So when I'm finished with the tomato juices and everything, I can just pop everything in the oven. Okay, so in my oven, I'm going to cook my cabbage rolls on the 3rd level. And I'm going to put it on 350. And I'm just going to wait, close the oven. I'm going to wait until it is preheated. And meanwhile, I'm going to finish up with my cabbage rolls. Okay, now I've finished with all my fillings. This is all that's going to be. I'm going to put a layer of cabbage right on top of these guys. Just layer them nicely, cover them up like a blanket. Just all the way around. Okay, and then it's going to hold all the tomatoes and stuff that I'm going to put on top. Cover it up nicely. And mostly when we eat cabbage rolls, the cabbage, some people eat it, some people throw it out. Depends if you. Now I'm going to get 3 cans of Campbell's tomato soup and do 1 can of the concentrate and 1 can of water, and I'm going to heat it up in this pot. So 3 cans of Campbell's soup and 3 cans of water. I'm going to mix it up, heat it up. Heating up the tomato soup so it's nice and hot. I would like it to go to boiling, and then I'll just pour this over the cabbage rolls. Okay, I'm going to pour my tomato soup over this in 1 second, and then I'm going to pour a bit of canned tomatoes. I like to use fresh tomatoes, so I would slice them, but I don't have any at the moment, so canned tomatoes will do. I don't put a whole can in, maybe just use half a can of this. Okay, now I'm going to pour the tomato soup. Pour it in gently so it doesn't splatter all over the place. And I want it to go to the bottom. I'm going to pour it all over. And just gauge it, I guess. I would use a knife to sort of go along the edges so the tomato soup goes underneath. Just gently, just move the leaves a little bit over. And you can see all the tomato soup goes to the bottom. That's what you want. You want it to go to the bottom. So I'm just going to pour the rest of this. I'm just going to pour it along the sides. There. Okay. Okay, now I'm just going to put a few tomatoes on top. Or you can use fresh tomatoes. I often like fresh tomatoes. Okay, now I've got the tomato sauces and the tomatoes, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a pepper shake here, and maybe a little bit of salt, not much, not too much. Okay, and a little bit of my Mrs. Dash. Okay, and then I'm going to cover all of that with foil. I'm going to cover all of this with foil with the shiny side down. Sometimes I might have to use 2 pieces of paper, 2 foils, 2 papers of foil. I'm going to use another one. Make sure it's covered up nice. And just tighten it up around the edges. Okay, I'm going to cover it with 2 pieces of foil so it's all covered. I'm just going to tuck it in real tight. I'm going to put my lid on. Like that. Okay, my cabbage rolls are ready now for the oven. The oven is at 350. Before I do that, I'm going to put this little sheet in the oven underneath my cabbage rolls just in case they boil over, and I just don't like cleaning my oven. So I'll show you. I use this with a lot of things I do, making pies or whatever. You can't put it right on top, so I would put it on just on the layer below it, so it lets the heat go through. It lets the heat go through, and it catches all the spills. It'll take 2 hours to cook, and I like making meals that cook in the oven because I have 2 hours of free time to do whatever I like while dinner is being cooked, and it's just wonderful feeling, and the house smells nice. So with my leftover cabbage, what I plan to do is I can make borscht with it, which is a cabbage beet soup. What I'm going to do is, because I don't want to do it today, I'm going to put it, it's already cooked, I'm just going to put it in a freezer bag and put it in the freezer until I'm ready to make borscht. Okay, it's been 2 hours, and now we're going to take the cabbage rolls out of the oven and eat. Here we go. And I see we never got any spills in the oven. We're going to undo this. Okay. I'm going to take off the, there we go. I took off the foil, and now I'm just going to test to make sure it's nice and tender, which it is. And what I'm going to do is take the top leaves and just shove them to the side, and we're going to plate the cabbage rolls on everyone's plate. Okay, now I'm just going to plate the cabbage rolls. You lift them up gently from the pot, and usually about 2 or 3 per person is what we usually eat. Okay, now we just add some sour cream, and we could put salt and pepper with that, cut it up and eat it. I hope you liked this video, and if you could click like and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to making other videos for you.